You know whether they Right, it's 7 o'clock, so I propose to start the meeting. So first of all, welcome to this special meeting of Town Council. Have we got any apologies first?
Yeah, we've got apologies from Councillor Wildman and from Councillor Chung.
Thank you. Item 3 is declaration of interest. Has anyone got any declaration of interest that they need to declare? No? Item 4 is public forum. Now, I need to do some sorting out. I mean, under sections, meetings in general, in the standing orders, Standing Order 3 says all or part of a standing order may be suspended by resolution in relation to the consideration of an item on the agenda at this meeting. So Standing Order 3, which is entitled Meetings Generally, I propose a resolution to suspend Standing Order 3F, which is in conduct of meetings, which is the period of time designated for public participation at a meeting of this council is 15 minutes in total. So I've suspended that so we can go over that 15 minutes. But I am keeping Standing Order 3G, which is subject to Standing Order 3F above. A member of the public shall not speak for more than 5 minutes, if possible. Okay. So I need to get a seconder to suspend Standing Order 3F. Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Any objections to that suspension? All those in favour then? Thank you. Right, that standing order is suspended. So we've got 4 speakers who want to speak on an item, which I understand is item 8, planning.
Can I just say, anyone who's wanting to speak, because we haven't got the handheld microphone, if maybe you can sit in one of the seats that aren't occupied and just use the microphone, then the people at home can hear you as well.
Yeah. Well, I propose to bring that item forward whilst we can, and so when we come back to it, we can still remember all the comments that you've said. We'll take that after you've spoken, the actual item, okay, which is item 8, number 4, which is the Gleesons. So after you've all spoken, we will have a discussion about that, okay? Caroline, would you like to speak first? Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so thank you for letting me speak today, and I'm sorry I didn't realise this meeting was happening till this morning. Perhaps I should be looking at Pendle Borough Council websites, Cone Town Council websites weekly, but I'm afraid I don't. I've got an awful lot else on in my life, so I apologise for applying late, and thank you for letting me speak. So I object on the strongest possible terms to the proposed development by Gleeson's regeneration on the Lenches. Pendle already has a 7.64-year supply of designated housing land. Pendle Borough Council declared a climate emergency in July 2019 and pledged to take significant measures to tackle both the climate and biodiversity crises. The plans proposed by Gleesons are incompatible with these aims and are wholly unsustainable. The Lenches lies outside the settlement boundary and has a deeply rural character, reinforced by the severe gradient of the hill, which separates it both physically and psychologically from the townscape. Gleeson's plans show frankly generic, shoddy housing that have neither environmental nor architectural merit, do not reflect the typical local design or vernacular, and are in a thoroughly suburban layout, which is unsympathetic and intrusive to the rural surroundings. There is no provision of what would be locally thought to be affordable homes, and just 2 bungalows, but on an extremely inaccessible site. The proposed development would seriously blight the hillside and countryside and ruin the views both of and from Colne, so that many, especially those who live in the South Valley, cherish so much. They would increase traffic up and down the already dangerous roads and increase the risk of flooding. Hardy souls who enjoy walking and cycling for leisure may exercise on the lenches, but it's highly impractical and improbable that people will choose to walk or cycle to town for work or for public, to public transport routes on a daily basis. So there will be an increased inbuilt reliance on private cars. If Gleeson Regeneration really wanted to achieve some positive regeneration, the plans would show high quality insulated homes to passive house standards with integrated solar panels, ground source heat pumps and wastewater recycling systems. Gleeson's full company's name is clearly a misnomer. However, there is still an obvious area just down the hill on flat land which really does need regenerating. The old John Cotton pressed felt site would provide excellent connectivity to bus and rail routes, schools, and easier gradients to shops and other services. This would be a perfect site for a mixed housing area, including affordable homes, accessible homes, and eco-housing to passive house standard. The stone mill engine house could be retained as it is redolent of the town's history. And the site already has a public footpath running through it east to west, which is temporarily closed, and also public footpaths giving access to the Castercliff Way. So the site would be well integrated with other paths and potential and actual cycleways along the existing routes, along Colne Water to Wycoller, to Primmett and Fishermore schools, and along Greenfield Road to the Leeds and Liverpool Canal. Such a plan would help greatly towards consolidating the South Valley community and would be an area of which we could be really proud and which would probably garner architectural and environmental accolades. This is a golden opportunity and could help also take pressure off other greenfield sites. To quote Michael Gove, Secretary of State for Levelling Up Housing and Communities only on the 11th of May, it is no kind of success to simply hit a target if the homes built are shoddy, in the wrong place, don't have the infrastructure required, and are not contributing to beautiful communities. I urge our councillors and the council officers to demonstrate their pride and belief in our wonderful town, its special character, and its beautiful green hillside hinterland, which can be appreciated most of all from this council chamber. And I urge you to reject this totally inappropriate proposal and instead perhaps use this opportunity to achieve something really imaginative, creative and sustainable instead.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Have we got Emma Hartley? Eugene?
What you want?
Yeah. Just turn that one off.
Just get. Right, sorry guys, can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Fantastic. I do apologise. I'm in a very gorgeous holiday home in Cornwall. And we've just had trouble with the iPad, so I've had to sack the iPad, and I'm now on a tiny phone with hardly any charge. So I do apologise. Thank you for listening to me. Just let me find my notes. Right, first of all, I'd just like to say this is like Groundhog Day. I spoke to you last year when I was on holiday, when I was desperately trying to get Lenchers added as a green space in the Cone neighbourhood plan. So unfortunately, I'm here again. I am also, I would like to say, I'm deeply disappointed and saddened that not one councillor thought it was appropriate to inform our group about this meeting. We've been campaigning, as everybody knows, to try and save Lenchers from Gleeson's clutches for quite some time now, and yet not one person has bothered to tell us about this meeting, and that does make me really sad. This is a big deal for Waterside, a big deal. 106 houses in phase 1 with another 106 to come. Maybe everyone forgot, maybe they just forgot to tell us, but that's the problem with Waterside. We do seem to get forgotten quite a lot. For example, you'll see from the maps that hopefully have been handed out that when green spaces and heritage assets were allocated in Cone neighbourhood plan, Waterside was forgotten about. When 145 people wrote to the town hall asking for Lenchers to be protected as a green space, we were told no, we were ignored. 196 people wrote to Pendle Borough Council during the Plan Part 2 consultation, all asking that Gleeson's didn't build at Lenchers and that Lenchers was protected as a green space. But again, the plan was scrapped. All our comments were ignored. We were ignored again. Waterside's in the top 10% for deprivation in the UK. It's a fact that the poorer you are, the less likely it is that your green space will be protected. And please don't tell me that Cone neighbourhood plan is going to protect Lenchers, as I've spoken to 3 independent planning consultants and every single one of them has told me the same. The only way to guarantee protection is to be allocated as a green space in your local plan. So when is Waterside going to be remembered? And when are you going to start listening? This land has been used by local people since time began. It's riddled with footpaths that are used daily for dog walking, nature gazing, and generally enjoying the long-range views all over Colne. The land has rewilded itself and is home to owls, kestrels, and buzzards. We have a foraging group that uses it regularly, and we hold regular forest baths on the land. And one thing I've really picked up from the foraging group isn't just that these people are absolutely obsessed with nature and they want to be self-sufficient, which is incredible. The other thing I pick up is that they talk all the time about how much money they're saving by going onto that land. So it might be something that people don't relate to when they go shopping to Waitrose or have their Ocado delivery. But those people in Waterside are in the 10% most deprived in the UK. They need that land, not just for mental space and head space, but they need it so they can go and forage and they can feed themselves, which makes this even more appalling that we're even in this situation. We sit on Lenchers Field, we moonbathe on there, we forest bathe in the trees. And I said this before and I'll say it again. If you've sat on that land and watched the sunset over Pendle Hill and the moon rise over Bolesworth, you'd understand how special it is to everybody that lives in Waterside. We need this land. It's magical enough to be a nature reserve where local kids can come, learn about nature and escape from their terraced homes and enjoy the great outdoors. We have a duty of care to protect our countryside for the next generation. 380 people have already taken the trouble, and it is trouble because it's not easy, to object on the planning portal. I really hope you agree that this land should be saved, and I really hope that you start listening to the people of Waterside and listening to what they want for their future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Emma.
Thank you.
Right, is this Simon?
It is, yes. Hello there.
Go ahead, Simon. We're listening.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to highlight some of the main points as to why this is a ridiculous development or application. The Lenchers is highly visible from the top of every street along Albert Road and along to Market Street, and right outside the town hall where everybody is tonight. The trees form part of Colne's green infrastructure, and it's just this development have a devastating impact on this wonderful landscape and the green backdrop. You all agree that's why they call it Bonnie Colne on the Hill, You look out that window, and that's very much why. The wildlife in there, which Emma's already touched on, and I think Caroline has too, but I've walked my dogs in there for over 30 years. And one ecology report taken in the winter months can't possibly show all the various species of birds, mammals, insects, fauna that I see on a daily basis. Not only that, well, I bump into other dog walkers who use it regularly, and nature lovers and picnickers enjoying it up there, and it's a very sociable place to be for all the residents of Waterside. A lot of them use this as their back garden because a lot of them don't have gardens, or they can't afford transport or cars to get to other areas. So it's really, really important for everybody's well-being. Highway safety on Lanchers Road is it's a busy road as it is anyway, with cars diverting from Troden and using this as a bit of a rat run. But where the proposed site is to this development, there are 2 blind summits. It's just going to be chaos on there, especially in the snow and ice. Because if you imagine there's 200 extra houses up there, that's going to be approximately 400 cars, because nobody's going to be cycling or walking up there with that steep gradient, with the shopping and the children, etc. So there's going to be all this extra traffic. There's going to be all going over the single track listed bridge at the bottom. It's a beautiful country lane, and I think they're proposing ripping out hedgerows and all sorts to make it like a suburban street. Flooding as well. This acts as a massive sponge, holding back a lot of water, which would prevent the overflowing of cold water down at the bottom, which does flood over occasionally, even now without this, but tarmacking over that would make it a lot worse. The area is out of the settlement area, and it's in open countryside. It's not been selected as a building allocation by Pendleborough Council or on the Colne Neighbourhood Plan. The Pendleborough Plan demonstrates a 7.46 year housing supply, and the council have committed to reducing the house numbers, which means there's absolutely no requirement for this development whatsoever. The Lenches is a beautiful and very, very important place for everyone in Colne, and it needs protecting now and also for all the generations to come. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Thank you, Simon. We've got one more speaker, which is Councillor Ash Suttlet.
Do you want to sit here now? You're the main spokesperson.
Thank you. Good evening, councillors. Strange to be here and not be in a named position for once. I've got 2 asks of you this evening. At recent Colne Area Committee, it was unanimous that the councillors voted that we should recommend refusal of the planning application on the Lenches. And very simply, I ask you make your comments in objection to this planning application. I'll keep it very simple. That's as much as I ask of you. My second ask is that you fully get behind the Colne Neighbourhood Plan and everything that it can do, everything it can do for this town. It protects so much in terms of our green spaces across the whole town, including Lenches. So please, please get behind it and get this through. We need it, and we need extra protection. I know people say it doesn't guarantee. It gives us everything we've possibly got. We don't have many other options. We're working on Pendle Local Plan Part 2, but in the meantime, we've got Colne Neighbourhood Plan. Let's get it through. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Suttlet. I'll open this up now to members. Yes, Councillor Lord.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I just want to make one thing clear to everyone, and particularly the people on the Protect Pendle's countryside site. As a resident of Waterside for the last 50 years and having that view for the last 42 years, I have to be careful here. I do deeply, deeply care about what happens up there, and it's not what's proposed that I want. I was just thinking through things there while people were speaking, when my husband played in that field as a child with all his friends who are now in the 70s. And that was very special to them. But I didn't realise that at the time. And obviously he's not here to ask anymore, but I did ring some of his friends from Notts Lane that played in that field and asked them what they did. And well, you know, we went up there all day and we climbed the trees and we swam in the dams, and we just said to our mums, as one friend said, we're going up top. That's all it was referred to, but it was very, very special to them. And it's special to me because it's my view from my backyard. It's the only green space that I can see, along with hundreds and hundreds of other people. That's all they can see. And not just from Waterside, you can see it from other places as well, if you're up Holt House or whatever. So, you know, for people to say that councillors don't care, of course they care, of course they care. That's why we're here. This job here is a volunteer job. We're volunteers, and we were elected onto the council to represent our residents. And I believe that that's what every single one of us does. There's nothing secretive about anything. It's all open. I've never had, never needed to tell anybody about a meeting. I've never had to tell anybody. You just presume that they know, but obviously they don't, but they might do now. Now they know where to look and keep their eye out for stuff. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lord. Yes, I've got Councillor Sarah Coburn-Price and Councillor Neil Butterworth. I think Neil may have put his hand up first, and then Councillor Thomas.
Yeah, hi everybody. I've just been elected your councillor in Waterside. I've been a bit poorly, so I've been a bit absent. I'm back now, 8% fit, and you have my 100% support. There isn't one councillor in this room that wants houses built there. I used to play up there as a kid, and I remember it fondly. So every councillor in this room wants leases to not be around and not take our land. So you have the vote of every single councillor here. I want to reiterate on Ash's comment is we need numbers. We need numbers to say no. We need. I've signed your petition. We just need numbers. So I know it's really hard to go on the portal. I'm a bit of a dinosaur myself, but you can get your kids to help you and get on the portal, sign a petition, and everybody agree. Everybody work together. No talking about other people saying they forgot a meeting. Let's all work together. Let's all get rid of them. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Butterworth. I've got Councillor Sarah Coburn-Price to speak next.
I will cede to Mr. Numbers next to me, and then perhaps chip in afterwards if you don't mind, Mary.
So, Councillor David Coburn-Price.
Thank you very much. So we had the discussion at Cone Area, and several of you spoke at Cone Area as well, and I encourage you then to rehearse your speeches, get them ready. P&R is the place where the decisions will be taken. So not Cone Town Council, no decision tonight, just like Cone Area, it's exactly the same principle. So, you know, practice those speeches, get them right, focus on the planning matters. Sadly, stuff like Michael Gove and his pretty houses, I think whilst we all agree with that, that's a good thing, environmentally friendly or whatever, it's not law at all. So I think at Cone Area, we had a number of reasons highlighted about sustainability, accessibility. We talked as well about the design as well. We talked about the highways issues.
Do you want to just read out what Cone Area said?
I can do, yeah, why not? So the recommendation from Cone Area this is what it's going to say in them, is this will go up to Policy and Resources, and it basically said that the recommendation is to refuse planning permission for the following reasons. The proposed development is physically disconnected from Cone due to topography and position within the open countryside. It is not in a sustainable location. Poor design, particularly in the use of materials which are not characteristic of the area and would be inappropriate for this rural location. Traffic and highways issues. A potential bottleneck at the Grade 2 listed bridge on Lenches Road, combined with a lack of footpaths. And finally, the site would be prominent in long-range views and would mar the setting of the town. And obviously you've got the neighbourhood plan's long-range views document as perfect evidence. Be careful, I warned you about this one, be careful about things like flooding, because of course the lead flooding authority says they have no objection. Provided they put conditions in, the flooding system will be designed, it's a very technical area, and therefore they have no objection. Yes, the coal authority, that's a good one. One thing about affordability, a lot of you talk about affordable housing. All housing estates are all said that are unaffordable, not for local people, etc. Well, I've read the Gleeson's planning statement, and they say there is a positive impact, which is that the houses they propose are low cost. They have a policy of, and they quote, Gleeson's homes are priced so they are affordable by 90% of the local couples in full-time employment. So that's their pricing policy. And the other thing we talk about is the Pendle Local Plan 2. Local Plan 2 is gone. Okay, it was voted out, and careful when you talk about things like 7.5 years of housing land supply. That's 7.5 years of housing land supply based on 142 per year. So that's just over about 1,050. If you'd have had that Local Plan Part 2 that every party rejected, then you would have only had 4.5 years of housing land supply. And that brings in the apocalyptic scenario of less than 5 years housing land supply. And that's where the Lower Rough, which we fought a number of years ago for these very reasons, Gib Hill as well will be another one, because all of those green spaces that were earmarked for allocated and reserved sites would be sacrificed. And just because it's a reserved site and there are conditions for bringing those in, believe me, if a developer came along with a reserved site proposal, oh yes, it would be ushered in, the officers would love it because it would meet the targets. And that's why it would probably be passed. So there's lots of reasons there you should focus on, and other ones you should not focus on. And remember as well, try not to be so aggressive to councillors. We're trying our best, as Dorothy said, we're unpaid, and we're trying our best here to get it right for you and for the area. Why do you think we've invested 6+ years in the Cone Neighbourhood Plan? So I can't say explicitly about supporting or not having, because obviously I'm going to be on P&R. So you'll have to respect my views on that one. But I'm happy to help.
Sarah?
I'm also on P&R, so for reasons of predetermination, I can't be like Ash or even like Dorothy so much. Save to note that the points that Cone Area put forward were the points that Cone councillors put forward, and so that's what's going to P&R. With regards to the neighbourhood plan, I completely disagree. It's a very supportive document of all areas outside the settlement boundary within Cone, and from Waterside in particular, 9 out of the 21 local green spaces are in Waterside, and 41 of the 89 heritage assets are in Waterside as well. I know, because I wrote every single one of them, and some of the time I was lost looking for Ingamite graves or whatever it was. What is, I think, the most critical thing in the neighbourhood plan, apart from the fact that it doesn't support building outside the settlement boundary, so when it was made, that is like the critical point, is the significant views analysis. This council spent £2,500, one of the only reports that we actually paid for and didn't get paid for by a grant from the government. Because of our topography being so special, it's quite clear that what looks good on a map isn't good when you're looking at it. And so page 15 of the significant views document deals largely with lynches, and it's something that is very critical to this application. And I'll leave it there.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Thomas, then Councillor Butterworth, and then Councillor Hurley. Councillor Thomas?
Could I just make a plea before I start that people turn the phones off? Oh. Councillor Clamp said he's going to go off. Right. As has already been said, I don't think there is anybody that wants to see this plan go ahead. And for them to call themselves Gleeson's Regeneration, I thought they were having a laugh at somebody's expense. As Caroline Spencer-Palmer said, if they'd have been talking about the Spring Gardens Mill site, there'd be some merit in calling themselves Regeneration. Unfortunately, the Spring Gardens Mill site has been ruled out because the Environment Agency have said they would object to the whole neighbourhood plan because it's in a flood zone. And apparently, you can have business premises and they can flood, but not houses. Or they can put amelioration things in that you can't do on houses. Again, people have to concentrate on the real nitty-gritty of the planning points. One thing that has massively swung in its favour has been the intervention, that's maybe too strong a word, of the Coal Authority, who, in their words, have a substantive concern, and further down they say they object. Also, one other thing going in its favour is the request to designate more footpaths in the area, which, if that goes through, in the words of Pendle's footpaths man, would blight some of the houses. I'm trying to think of a kind word to say about their housing design, and I can't find one. It absolutely bears no relationship to any other buildings that are going to be near it. They say that there'll be, I think he said there's a mixture of styles and types, and it really would be 100% out of place. The one thing as well in all this is I don't know who owns the land, because presumably that is someone from the area. At some point, someone in the area owned that land. Who, I don't know, but somehow someone's seen the pound notes. Perhaps the land will be considerably less valuable without planning permission than it is with. So, there's possibility of hanging your buckets out and about and rattling them, and everybody chipping a fiver. I mean, I have no idea of land values. The other crucial people that need to be on side are the traffic people at county, because if they say it's a no-goer, that again, they're just as Lancashire County are the local flood authority, they're the local highways authority. So if they say the highways can't make it, can't take the traffic, they hold sort of pole position on that. So I think what we should do, Chair, is use the
Cone area.
the cone area wording and say we fully support that, and would urge people who are listening that can't fetter their interests to talk to their colleagues and twist their arms and hope that P&R sees sense and turns it down. If Gleeson's then appeal, we'll jump off that bridge when we have to. But I'd like to move that we re-echo? We support the motion that the Cone Area Committee said put down, and that be our formal objection to the plan.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Councillor Butterworth.
Yeah, I've missed a couple of meetings because I've been poorly, but things I've looked at, just presume that they build 200 houses there. So as Simon said a moment ago about cars, now every modern day family has 2 or even 3 cars. So you can time them houses by 3. And if you look at the way it is, so it's going to be Lynch's or Knott's Lane. So all them cars are going to come onto the highway at the bottom of the hill, which is going to create chaos. So the cars are a definite issue. So these people that can afford these houses, I mean, even the affordable houses are out of reach for most people around here. The schools, most of these people will have children. So there's schools to look at, where they're going to go. If you look at the park and Primer and that sort of thing, they're full. They're sending kids now to Nelson. The fire brigade, we got a really good fire brigade and they're excellent. However, 200 more houses, it's been a bit silly now. Ambulance times now are, 35, 40 minutes? Imagine another 200 houses, another 200, people to look after, 400 people to look after. The doctors, where are these people going to get doctors? In Cole somewhere, but where? It's full now. In Nelson, I have to move to Nelson, and my doctors are full. I can't get in there for 2 weeks. So imagine another 4, 5, 6, 700 people. So all these things need to be looked at. The infrastructure is just not there to accommodate all these people. God bless them. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hurley.
I just wanted to reiterate what Councillor Lord and Councillor Coburn-Price said, that we are caring. We may not agree with each other in this chamber, but we all agree that we don't want housing on Lynches, and I'm absolutely 100% sure the same is true of Pendle Borough Council. So I would just ask you, please, to tone it down a little bit on PPC, because I know that people feel threatened and people feel very worried about the future and what it might hold, but we're not the enemy here. And when you come here or when you make comments on PPC like we don't care and we're doing everything in secret behind closed doors and we really do want to build on every green site, that's simply not the case. And I realise that it's easy to get upset and carried away, but you're pushing at an open door here, and reserve your ire for Gleeson's, please. That's all I'd ask, because I actually had to come off the site, and I'm still very upset by some of the things, but I know appear on it. We're not secretive, and we are against what Gleeson's would like to do, 100%. And I'll eat my hat, or sit in the stocks, and you can throw rotten veg at me if I turn out to be wrong about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah.
Just because there has been some confusion over the process, I thought that I would clarify that. And I really respect my colleague Neil, and everything he said was logical and common sense, of course, but they're not strong planning reasons. No. They're not strong planning reasons, those. Even though they seem logical, you should just hone down on the things that are in the NPPF, even though you'd say, oh, but I can't get a school place or a doctor. I know it doesn't sound logical, but it's best to be within the system if you're going to succeed. So this is the final formal sort of consultation before P&R. I think it really unlikely that it'll come to June's P&R. It might. I think it'll probably come to July's P&R. So what you need to do is you need to keep your eye on the committee section of the Pendle Borough Council website. See the 2 dates, both June and July, and exactly 1 week before, the Thursday before those meetings, that's when the reports come out. And there'll be, and none of the councillors have seen this yet, none of us, borough or town, a lavish report that will be written by the planning officers at Pendle Borough Council, and they will weigh it all up in order against the various legal frameworks. So they'll weigh it against the NPPF, they'll weigh it against the Pendle Core Strategy, they'll discuss all of the things laid out in paragraphs, and then they'll come to a conclusion. So from your perspective, sitting in those chairs, really you should just flick to the end when you first see that and just see what the recommendation is, and then go back and read it all, because it is an awful lot harder for councillors to go against officers' advice. So if the officers, so say, worst case scenario for you, LCC come back and say, oh no, it's absolutely fine, and say, and I don't think this will happen because just from experience, but say that officer's report says recommendation approve, then you've got a week to really be creative within the NPPF, and I'm sure that a lot of councillors will be thinking the same too. But it makes it harder. It's a bigger uphill struggle if you're going against the officer's advice. So you have a week before that meeting, and we have a week before that meeting as well. And, you know, that's how long we have.
I've got Councillor Lord next.
Well, I was just going to second Councillor Thomas's motion, but I think somebody else wants to speak.
Well, I've got Councillor Mann and then Councillor David Coburn Price.
Should I just second that now?
Yes.
Yeah, and then you can carry on.
We'll vote on that later. Councillor.
Yeah, I think we're really lucky here because we live stream, and so people can go back and have a look at this broadcast. They can see the planning proposals in detail and the ways of actually countering those proposals in a really precise way, knowing that they are actual planning objections. It's really good to hear about passion and why we don't want that area to be built on, but we've got to stick to the planning rules and actually say what we don't want in accordance to that. Okay, so you can go back, look at what has been said, and then put in your objections.
Thank you. I've got Councillor David Coburn Price.
Yeah, it's just a final couple of comments. I mean, as Sarah mentioned, when we had the rough, we did a similar sort of campaign, exactly the same sort of process. We focused down on the key matters. The officer's report there said approve. And that was largely driven by the 5-year housing land supply. We had all the objections on flooding and things like that. We paid for an external consultant because we thought there was something to really explore on that one. And actually there was in the end. But things like the history of it as well. We had great stories about the Skipton Old Road gang fighting the Oak Street gang back in the 20s and the 30s. You know, that was fabulous stories. You know, you could write a book on it. But the caution I give you on that one is lots of talk about wandering all over Lenches. As Howard pointed out, it is private land. And one of the things we were told was you must never take photos not from a footpath. Otherwise, you're trespassing.
Yeah.
And you've basically just admitted it. So be very careful how you use it in terms of the land itself. It is privately owned. I don't think he's in the area now, but I heard he's in the northwest somewhere. I don't know. But yeah, willing landowner and a willing developer. That's unfortunately what people have to fight against.
Thank you. I've got the last speaker. I'll give the last word to Councillor Howard Thomas.
It's not favouritism, because I only want to make two very quick points. In the dreaded county council, again, with their education hat on, say that there is enough supply of primary places, but not enough secondary places. And they want round figures, 250,000. I don't think it was quite £250,000 from the developers to put that in. And the East Lancs Hospital Trust say they want, again, round figure, £180,000 for health things. So that's why you've got to be very careful to not put too much emphasis on there's not enough doctors, not enough, because the way that's how the planning system gets round it. They say, oh, we'll
Give you some money to.
Just, be careful to, as David just said, stick to the plans.
Right, thank you, Councillor Thomas. We had a proposal to accept what was said at Cone Area, and Dorothy seconded that. So can we all vote if we're happy to accept that we put the same and similar comments into Pendle Council? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you. And thank you for your time for coming as well. You're most welcome. And I know it is an emotional thing for you, all of it, isn't it? It's not something, but we're doing what we can. Okay, thank you. We go back to the agenda now. Thank you. So item 5 is the internal audit report, which will be very interesting, I'm sure. Let me just get in there. Yes. Yes, you will do. Yeah. I might say as an aside that we've got, I met a lot of the Ukrainian families on Friday evening at Trodden Community Centre, and they're having great problems getting children into school. And the people that have put them, the secondary ones, they're thinking, they're saying, oh, it might be September or Christmas before we can get any. Right. I know that there's some places in West Craven. Yes, well, we've got one into a Ukrainian boy into Park. Right. So item 4, the internal audit report. It's the letter that we're talking about just now. We'll accept that. Item 5, yeah. So that's that one.
That's one very minor question. I'm sure it's very easy. Obviously, well done having an effective set of procedures. That's good. They obviously confirmed there were no significant matters of concern. Is there anything you're going to do differently tomorrow?
No, the only thing that sort of came out of this time was that processes for asset registration, i.e. Is going to be done on an ongoing basis rather than periodically, because then it just makes it easier. So when we're making the payments, obviously it's, what's that for? Is it an asset? Stick it on the asset register. So yeah.
Okay. Item 6.
I think everyone's read the letter, which says everything is in order with the audit return report, and with no black marks, no ticks in wrong boxes or anything, which is for the 3rd year on the trot. And I would like to formally thank Gina and Katie and the rest of the staff in the office downstairs, because let's face it, since Naomi left, and we have been short-handed because we've been struggling over 2 interviews and not being able to find a suitable person to fill the finance post, and it has been difficult, and they have had a lot to do and they have been rushed off the feet, and I would like to formally thank them, Chairman, on behalf of the Council, for the work that they've done in keeping things in order and on track and getting such a successful audit return.
Well done. Thank you. Is that this as well together?
That's the AGAR, that's item 6.
Right. And that has to be done tonight because it's the last minute. Right. So to receive a report complaining completion of year-end accounts process, completion of year-end internal audit and readiness for the annual governance and accountability return to be signed. Has anybody any issues with these at all? No?
Of that?
Yes, we have to deliver our external audit by the 21st of June. And then they need to come back to us before, is it the 1st of September, I think. So.
Has everything been signed on this yet?
No, it's here, ready to be signed.
I'll sign it now. I didn't know that the chair of the thank you. Right, it can.
There's another one.
Oh dear. Yeah, that's it. Good, lovely. Right, item 7 is the Colne Neighbourhood Plan. Sarah? Colne Neighbourhood Plan.
I thought we were still on sums.
Oh yeah, well my
okay.
Well, why aren't you interested?
So we're at the brink. We're at the brink here. So I'm very grateful to all the tweaks that it's not a road, it's a drive, it's not a street, it's a road. All of that is really important for giving our plan credibility. And there's a most enormous amount of information contained across multiple documents. And the more you review it, sometimes the less you can see. Truly, if you've read something 12 times, you've lost it with it really. So we hope that we have now reflected all of those changes, and I'm very grateful. David has done something that I don't understand about the non-designated heritage assets. He tried to explain it to me, and I'm afraid I was rushing out of the door at the time. Perhaps he can explain that. So what we're outstanding now is the basic condition document, which can only really be written after we've done the MOT, and the design code. Now, there was nothing wrong with the design code, not fundamentally. It was all to do with making it easy for Pendle Council to use it. And the thing about the design code is we want to make it usable. So all of their comments were things like could you make all these colours flow through so that we can flick to that section? Could you standardise this to this? So although it could be seen that they were being pernickety in terms of truly, did it need to be done because our design code did what it set out to do, we felt it was really important. We applied for another grant. We felt it was really important to get it in the way that Pendle wanted it to be so they can use it. So it was good enough. It would have passed the inspector, it would have passed the basic conditions, but we wanted to make it usable, which is why it's gone back. Now we are expecting it any day, aren't we? So we are expecting that any day. And so that will be coming next time. And then I'm looking at you, Gina. I don't really know. Have you submitted it for the?
We've actually had the report back. We got it back today, this morning. Yes. So I have I've forwarded that to Michael, and I will forward you a copy of it. Basically, they were saying that there's a lot of work gone into it, and it's obvious that it's all been investigated thoroughly, etc. They have made some recommendations. I haven't had a chance to read through it properly yet, and neither has Michael. So I spoke to him this afternoon. He said it'd probably be tomorrow before he gets a chance to look at it. But it does look like there are some amendments to be made, but hopefully there won't be too much work.
So to sort of encapsulate that, this is literally like an MOT for your car. When we went at Regulation 14, and we did have deficits with the plan at that point, for definite, we went with one of the biggest plans in the country to Pendle Council, one of the least experienced in neighbourhood planning in the country. So there was definitely a mismatch there, in my opinion. And we were very unhappy with what Pendle said. I think some of it was reasonable, and some of it, we can argue it, can't we? So what we decided to do, we did this extra step that wasn't necessary. We applied for a grant. We wanted to get like a gold seal of approval from the people who really know about neighbourhood plans, which is this charity called Locality. So in a sense, I'm hoping that this isn't going to make me cry, this document that Gina sends me tomorrow. If it's something we can just set to and work through in a logical way and isn't fundamental, I'm hoping that we can bring this back very, very swiftly to you. And then at that point, we can submit it to Pendle Council, where we've literally done everything. We've had it independently verified from top recognised experts, and we have addressed everything that they said at Regulation 14 and done extra things on top. The master planning was on top, the design code was on top, significant views we undertook to do ourselves. We did an enormous mapping exercise.
The marketing document as well.
Marketing document wasn't needed, but we did it anyway to prove that people want to live within the cone boundary. Alice and Jonathan did the mapping of all of the shops so that we could do an analysis of hot food takeaways, and that's coming later on the planning today. We hope that we have over-delivered on this so that we can progress smoothly. So I very much hope that at June's council, we're able to bring you the design code, which you've already seen, and all the tweaks on that. They're the technical tweaks for Pendle. So almost, I'm not saying don't review it, please review it, you might find something else, but it should be, there shouldn't be anything in that design code at this point. And now, once we've reviewed what has come back, that allows Michael to do, which is almost without our input really, the final like summary document, like an executive summary, which is the basic condition document. So then we'll be done. Be amazing.
So at the end of this, we forward this Regulation 16 business. And then what happens after that?
Well, at Regulation 16, we get significant planning weight. So actually, in terms of things like the lenches, we're accorded significant planning weight at Regulation 16. Pendle Council then have 6 weeks to get this ready. And they put it out, I'm looking at you now, I've lost it a bit. They put it out for a referendum and then inspection. Yes, because there are two.
Is it a 6-week consultation first? Then it'll go to.
Yeah, then it's inspection. That is obviously a legal process. Then we might have to do some recommendations after the inspection. That might be some extra things, quite likely. They'd put some very, very senior planning people on ours because it's such a big one. I'm told that what we need to do is avoid all the men called Nigel. But apparently they'll put somebody very, very senior on it, and then it'll go out to referendum again for the whole town. And we hope that we will be supported, and then we will receive the accreditation that it's made. And then I've said to Gina yesterday, we need to hold a meeting to talk about updating the plan, because it has to be a living document. So yes, we've made it, but then there'll always be something, won't there?
I mean, this is the whole point. Obviously, we decided originally not to put lenches in as a green space because we would have had to go through Regulation 14 again, which is another 12 months plus delay. But obviously, if we can get the plan made, then we are actually able to make changes to it once it has been made. So that's going to be the quicker way to go rather than going backwards. Yeah.
So we're looking at Christmas? Before, yeah.
I think, the focus has been on getting to 16 because we attain the planning weight at 16. We will make it past, once we've got to here, we're going to make it to the end. But you're dependent on other people then. Yeah. You're dependent on 2 consultations. And I am told that because they'll have to find such a very senior planning inspector, it may be quite a time to find the planning. They can't just pick anyone, so.
No, we have to be.
We've got to wait for one not called Nigel.
Yeah.
So quick update. As Sarah mentioned, I spotted, Mary, you had your typos and things which you gave to Michael. One of them was plush lathe duplicated. And the answer was it was in his list, but not in the underlying document. Because we put Stag House in 1 or 2 others as well. So that had to change the numbering in that. So I sent him the new numbering and he left plush lathe in twice. So that was an easy typo in the main document. The other one as well, I noticed when we were looking at green spaces there, Wood Street. Remember Wood Street? Yeah, so Wood Street's in the big document with all the detail in, but it was missed out of the actual top level plan. So that's gone from 20 to 21 green spaces now. So that's another little one there. But I think basically, as Sarah said, provided there's nothing big in the feedback from the assessors there, locality is made up of ex-planning inspectors, by the way, and it is the government's charity to support all forms of planning. So they're there to give advice to people like us and people who are engaged in planning matters.
So we just have to be patient.
So fingers crossed, we could come back to the next meeting for approval, possibly.
It'd be so exciting.
That could be approval by this council to submit it to Pendle for its 6-week period. It then does its checks, then it has the consultation with the public, then it goes to the planning inspector as the plan as is, plus the public's feedback. Planning inspector, not Nigel, does his work, does all that. Or her work. And then it comes back for public referendum and being made, unless the inspector's got a gotcha.
Also, because we've done the MOT, it should be much less for Pendle to do, because they can follow the MOT certificate, if you like, and it should be clear. So they're not just looking at it afresh. Yeah.
Anybody, any questions? Are we all excited? Have to have a party. Oh no, don't say that. No. Yes.
Are we formally then approving A to F tonight, yeah.
Yes, yes. So these documents, A2F, we've all had them, we've all read them. We've none of us have come back with saying we don't agree with any of it. So are we happy to take these and approve them?
Do you want me to propose it?
Yes.
I'll propose them all then.
Yeah. Yeah, well, pros them en masse, because they're are we all right? You'll second that, yeah? All those in favour? Thank you, that's lovely, thank you. Okay, well, we'll be looking, so is anything going to come back next month, do we think?
Yes.
Yeah, right,
Hopefully.
yeah. Got to keep it going, yeah.
I will just say, any amendments that do come through from this MOT, I have asked Michael to keep a running track of what he's changing, so that when they do come back, you only have to look at the sections that we have changed rather than reread through the whole document again.
Right,
so
okay. Can we go on to planning? We've done item 4, but we'll go back to the first one is 22/0143/ADV. It's this illuminated sign on Green Road. Are we going to see it, Eugene, or not?
yeah, just to maximise it.
Is that it?
Chair.
Is that the wrong one?
Is that the right one?
No, it's one of the plans, but the plan that's prompted, it says something like picture the sign. Tony's around.
Yes, Sarah?
So I've heard back from actually the planning officer on this, and she writes that so if you remember, we discussed last month about the hot food takeaway outside the town centre. And really, you could argue that the two are intrinsically linked here. You've got the illuminated sign and you've got the thing that it's used for. I wrote down what she put in her response to me, which is not acceptable in accordance, sorry, I have to take my glasses off, I'm terribly short-sighted, with WRK4 of the Pendle Core Strategy. So that is the use case outside the town centre. So really, I would argue, why are we even discussing the illuminated sign if the thing itself cannot be?
In looking at this, I thought, because that plan that's now disappeared was the original plan that split it into the two bits. But I thought that there'd been a decision notice, it said. Well, that's what I took the thing to see this afternoon, but...
He's been printed lots of things out this afternoon. So what do we think? What do we know? Is this...
Yeah, it would be last month's one, not this one. Last month's one.
But yeah. No, I think I looked at.
It's last month's one.
Yeah.
Sorry.
If you go into this plan, you can find it from there.
Yeah, you should have a
Okay, the ADV. That's it.
Scroll down there.
104 Green Road.
104,106, that was the last time one, 104,106.
That one.
No, you can click on that one.
Not the other one. Oh. That one. Oh, I don't know what it is.
There's an enforcement against the conditions not being right, which is that.
But David hasn't heard about it on delegation, and he's chairman of Cone Area Committee, so I can't think that they've sent out a decision notice.
Well, it may be the 17 one, and if that was actioned before.
Yes,
I suggest that we express our concerns, and obviously if it's already been approved, then there you go, but at least we've expressed our concerns over the lighting.
Is everybody happy with doing that? Yeah, we need to express our concerns about the other than, is it the light in a residential area?
Yeah, I think we can say it's not appropriate outside the town centre, and the actual function of the building is not acceptable with WRK4 of the core strategy.
Right, all happy with that. The next one is another one. It's 22/0205/HHO. It's St Andrew's Close. It's conversion of a garage to a habitable room. Is it the one behind what was Hartley Hospital? Is that St Andrew's? Or is it off? Is it not Drive?
Chair, is it the garage conversion, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I suggest that I propose that we make no comment. It seems okay.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Right. Anybody any objections to having no comment? No? It's a cul-de-sac, isn't it? It's St Andrew's Close, yeah. Well, the next one is 21/0748/HHO. It's Newlands up Red Lane, Colne, and it's been appealed.
I think we should just reiterate our objections to it that we made last time about it being too big. I think it's actually more than 50%, and it's in the green belt, and you can't go more than 50%. increase the thing by more than 50%, and it had that horrible white thing on it, and it makes the because it's part of a semi, it sort of, well.
What did we put last time?
I can find it quite easily.
Yeah. Okay. That okay?
I think the thing is, at appeal, you're only allowed to bring forward new things because the inspector has all the old things. So if there's anything in that that's different from what we said before, you'll have to go and look. You know, say we never mentioned the render last time or something like that. Then we should just do new things or not at all.
Right, okay. Are we happy with that? Sarah's comments, ideas? Right, the next one's Lancashire County Council, Compromise Academy. Erection of 2 temporary classrooms.
Pendle's already said there's no objection.
Right, okay. Next is 22/0231/FUL. It says Derby Street Mill, Stanley Street Cone. Anybody got? Yes, David?
Yes, Chairman. Can I first of all start off by saying, in principle, to tidy a scruffy looking semi-derelict site up, in principle, I don't really have any objections to this proposal. What I do have objections to is the way Pendle Council's handled this application, because to my way of thinking, they should not have even validated it. Because to me, it's not valid. The address is wrong for a start. It is not Derby Street Mill. It is what was the old bakehouse and slaughterhouse, and it is the buildings that are between. It's the buildings that are between Stanley Street and Newmarket Street, not Derby Street Mill, which is the old Folsers Mill, which is in between Stanley Street and Derby Street. So with the address being wrong, I would have thought they would have refused to validate it, because technically they're asking us to make comments, or they're asking Pendle to either approve or not approve an application that is address wrong. And I don't think it's valid. But the whole principle of the development, to tidy the area up, I don't really have an objection to it.
But that Derby Street Mill is the wrong mill as well as the wrong address. It's the one that's on Newmarket Street.
So can I ask on that one that we comment, well, unless anyone's any adverse comments to make, can I comment that we the comment be that we are okay with that application, but I think we ought to highlight the fact for Neil that the address of the property is technically wrong.
Yeah. We can say what they are, yeah, I'll think. Right. Are we happy with that, or, yeah? Right, the next one is 222/0276/HHO, 144 Langroyd Road, Cone. Yes, Sarah.
I'm not against these, especially the setback, in a capacious semi, etc. But the flat roof is a disaster. I have written to the planning manager, and he's going to hopefully do something about it. That's the before. Have you got an after? Just anybody looking at that building would not have that roof treatment, really.
And it's the first thing you see when you come up Skipton Road.
Just really. It's a nice 1930s traditional semi. Why spoil that? Really? No. But the principle of development, fine.
It's on in the gateway to Colne from Fulridge, isn't it? Look up there. Prominent.
It actually looks, Chairman, like in our with the roof slits sideways, like that.
Flat roof, it's not. Yeah, poor design. Flat roof. The next one is LCC stroke 2022 0020.
Same as the other one.
Already been. Yeah, all right. Next one is 22 stroke 0003 HHO at 4 Bent Lane, Colne. Erection of single story extension to rear.
Believe it or not, it's actually infill, isn't it? When you look at it, yeah. So it actually only comes out that very last little bit that sticks out on the before plan. There's nothing in that place where the is it a table and a settee. It's got bifold doors. I know Sarah won't like that. They're not plastic though.
They're not plastic though, I would say.
The door is because they're reusing it.
So what are we saying about that? No comment. Yeah, no comment. Right, next one is 22 stroke 0222 stroke FUL. It's former Spring Gardens Mill, Spring Gardens Road in Colne. Yeah, Alice?
Yeah, this whole development saddens me. Basically sheds, industrial units. Oh, it would have been wonderful to have that housing development that Caroline was talking about, but it's not to be. One of the issues still appears to be, though, surface water. So there is still comment from the flood agency about that. Access, I know that other people may not agree, but I think access onto the main road going to the motorway with these heavy lorries is going to be very, very difficult. You either go up Bridge Street or you go up to the junction of Notts Lane. And with phase 1, the Highways Committee said that in their view, Bridge Street was the better. In my view, Notts Lane would have been, but the clients, they want Notts Lane for this phase 2. So I think it's going to be a highway comment for me, and also the problem with surface water. In that area, we do have a big problem with surface water, with the springs coming down from Patton Street. So,
okay, thank you. Sarah? Yeah.
Oh, I shall be quick. I just want to concur with you, Alice. We tried so hard to put this in the neighbourhood plan and make this work, and there was a moment, wasn't there, Gina, that we thought we'd done it, and we were all really excited because it could have been Waterside Village and it could have been beautiful, because visually it is beautiful, and there's a place, I suppose there must be a place for a big shed, and I suppose you could say that it might make some jobs in Colne, but that's not the place. I'm really sad about it. It could have been fabulous as a developed brownfield land.
It could.
the only thing that is good about it is that perhaps in about 10 years, they won't be there because they are very temporary structures.
Right.
Chair,
Yes.
can I make a comment here? There's a flip side to this, I think, anyway. Yeah, we do need to try and develop onto brownfield sites, but there is a big shortage in Pendle for business premises. such as this. And businesses are actually leaving Pendle and going to other districts to carry on their businesses. So there's that side of it too. And this was always an industrial site anyway, although like everybody else, I would have loved to have seen that vision. And when we had the, I forgot what they called it now, 15-year plan, Howard might remember.
Master plan.
David. The master plan, you know, and that was extremely exciting at the time, where we were going to see the mill developed into apartments and a whole wonderful vision, but that sadly didn't happen. But I just wanted to make that point about industry and people actually leaving. I mean, I had somebody contact me yesterday, I think, about these units where they wanted a business in Cong, where they wanted to expand. And so I said, yes, I'll ask about it. And I was told reliably that they'd gone. They were snapped up, you know, already. So people are struggling. Yeah.
I think Alice was just talking about that they're just very plain and, you know. Yeah. Yes, David.
Chairman, the thing I can't get my head round with this is the first application, which was approved, was for a lesser number of units initially, and Highways insisted that they turned right coming out of the site and went along Shore Street. And what I can't get my head round is why they've now put an application in for the extra ones and reversed that system altogether that LCC were against in the first place, and decided they want to go left and along Green Road, then down Knott's Lane and out that way. And I can't see why LCC would insist on having 2 units on there and wanting to go turning right, and then having 4 units on and wanting to go left. It just don't make sense to me. So I don't know why they've done it.
Yeah. Because the one on Green Road, there's a real dogleg on there, isn't there? It's that where that old mill used to be. They struggled to get around there. No.
No, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, yeah. Right. The next one is 220330/HHO 43 Harrison Drive, Colne. Erection of single-storey extension to front elevation.
Harrison Drive.
Yes, David.
I'll tell you what I think on it, Chairman.
You can.
Technically, I think I don't like it, but considering that we've allowed, or Pendle has allowed someone about six or seven houses further up the street to do something very similar, which is possibly only 6 inches smaller, and they've allowed them to do it, I don't think anyone's in a position where they could say it's not suitable, because I think the precedent's been set, unfortunately. If there's one house already done it,
which side?
It's not our decision, obviously, we're only commenting, but my comment would be, I think it's a bit late in the day to say you can't do it because they've already let somebody else do it. End of.
It's more or less opposite where Tennyson comes out.
Oh, Tennyson Road.
There you go. Oh. Yeah.
Anything you should say? No? No comment, okay. The next one is 21/0793/FUL, Scarish site to the east of Crow Nest on Keighley Road, Colne. Yes.
The principle of development on this site is established, if you remember, those of you that were borough councillors years ago now, A small stone bungalow was passed on this former garage site. It was sort of low and small. And now this is completely different. I read the design and access statement, and I just thought it was nonsense. It was there saying it's meant to look like a converted agricultural building. And then they say, oh, as you're driving by, you'll hardly see it. It's got K-render white cement facade. It does not look like a converted agricultural building, and painting it white is not going to make it meld in. Now, I admit, down that road, there are some strangely different, non-homogeneous houses, and you could argue this is just another one. But I do think that it is quite a lot different from a very small, modest stone bungalow, this plan. I've called it in. I'm not happy with its design. It's not the principle of development, it's its design.
The word I wrote on here in large letters was materials. Because in one point they say that they're using random stone to, you think, oh, but then, yeah.
They're not using random stone.
Well, on
One little bit.
You should also mention it's in the Lidget and Bents conservation area as well.
Yeah.
So again, choice of materials. Try your best to be homogenous with the other houses.
Brilliant. Right. Okay. The next one, the last one, is 22/0308/HHO, 34 Ruskin Avenue, Corn. Demolition of conservatory and proposed two-storey rear extension.
I'm sure that this will be allowed, but it's a whopper. Have you looked at it? It's 5 meters deep. It's basically the house again with a gable. It's large. No, that's not it.
No.
That's before.
Yeah. Can we just say that it's
although when you look at the, I think there is, I don't know whether they've got it up there, and when you look at the ground floor plan, it's not, they're not the biggest of houses on there. No,
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting, Eugene.
Yeah, that's weird.
sticks out a bit, doesn't it?
No, that's as now. That's now.
Oh, is that now?
Yeah.
So this will be even worse than that.
Even worse. What can we could say we think it's too big.
Well, it looks large, but
Yeah.
I was surprised that no neighbour had said anything, but then it's only just come out. It's only just come out like yesterday.
Can we not say anything about it being overbearing and maybe privacy of?
We can say whatever we want. We can.
we just say it's too large, or it's large. It's
Yes, disproportionate.
Yeah, out of proportion, disproportionate. One of them, something proportionate. Yeah, yeah. Well, I know. I don't understand why people buy a small house and live. Yeah. Right, I think we've done that now. I think that's it. Thank you. Have we any correspondence? No. Is there any items for next month's agenda? Hopefully we won't be having another extra meeting, so just for the full council meeting. Is there anything anyone wants to put on that they want to discuss? Oh, sorry. I'll have to remember to I'm asking if anybody has anything for the next agenda that they want on. Future agenda. Not necessarily next agenda, but anything. Sarah?
I've written to Gina. I hope I didn't make her fall off a chair. Yeah, I think I have made her fall off a chair. She's back on a chair now. I have asked for a whopping, almost as whopping as that extension, £10,000 for 40% of a minibus for SEAG. So that's the thing that we could discuss, and it would be an amazing transformational thing.
So would that go to FES or come to this?
I was actually going to take it to the next FES meeting.
All right, okay. Well, we'll see how it goes on there then. Yeah. Okay. Date and time of next meeting is Tuesday the 21st of June at 7 p.m. So I hope to see you all here then. And thank you for coming, and thank you for your good behaviour.
Everybody seemed to be going off.
I don't know what it is. Oh, it's all right.
Bye, John.